Now for a review of what's making the newspaper headlines this morning. Let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
Wonderful morning to Charles this morning. How are you?
I am very fine, thank you.
And Yolanda?
Good morning, I'm doing well, thank you. Good to see you.
Great, good to hear that. Good to see you too. To look at the papers with us this morning, we have Chuks Akunna. He is the Executive Director of Authority newspaper. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with Thisday newspaper. Thisday Lifetime Achievement Awards, finalized by Board of Editors, unveils nominees for Game Changers category, announces the Tigers, Nigeria's female basket team sports personality of the year. I mean, everyone will agree that the Tigers deserves every recognition they can get. They've done Nigeria proud at every opportunity. One of the uplifting teams in Nigerian sports of recent, and they did this all with a female coach, Rena Wakema. Yeah, that's her name, Wakama rather. They were crowned champions in 2017, 2019, 2021, 2023. Chuks, the Tigers all the way.
Yes, and I must salute this day. You know, this is a tradition that has been there for decades. You know, flagship newspaper in Nigeria, Thisday, and I'm very proud to have worked with Thisday. And Thisday is one newspaper that celebrates the best in Nigeria, because it's not enough for us to always talk about the negatives in Africa or in Nigeria. We also have to encourage those who've done well. You know, it's global practice. We have magazines like Time, we have magazines like Newsweek. You know, they come out every year. You know, Man of the Year, this of the year. You know, so you know, I really enjoyed the selection process and
were you involved?
No, I said I enjoyed the selection. I enjoyed the selection process. You know,
yes.
The way the selections were done, and I'm sure that those who have been nominated, those who have nominated, it will spur them to do more for Nigeria and indeed for humanity. Yeah,
and Charles, there was the Game Changers Award, there was a lifetime achievement, and you have Aloma Mukhtar there. She was the first female Chief Justice of Nigeria, and others as well.
Yes, of course. Besides Aloma Mukhtar, you also had Senator Daisy Danjuma, who represented Edo South Senatorial District in the Senate. And of course, another recipient, Eniola Fadayomi. Okay, so Lifetime Achievement Awards apparently gender sensitive this time around. That's what I detected. I wonder whether it was exclusively for women, but of course, I wouldn't say much on that before I get tagged something else. But truly, those women did deserve that Lifetime Award they got nominated for. So yeah.
So the
all good.
The commemoration will be sometime in January. We look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Let's go on to Guardian newspaper. LG court orders Opewolo House to maintain status quo. A federal high court in Abuja has asked Governor of Edo State Monday Opewolo and the State House of Assembly to maintain status quo with regard to the suspension of 18 local government chairmen. The lawyer of the plaintiffs went to court on grounds that the Supreme Court held in July 2024 that governors had no power to suspend elected council chair. The council chairmen were suspended based on a letter of petition from the governor, and all these disagreements actually stemmed from operation of a joint account. I mean, Chuks, it seems that on this matter, Governor Opewolo acted on poor advice, or let's say bad advice, and really borders on poor judgment. One of the major decisions he took as state governor, and it has boomeranged.
Illegal, if you ask me. It's like President Tinubu writing National Assembly to actually suspend Governor Opewolo himself. That's it. Same way Governor Opewolo was elected as governor, same way these guys were elected as local government chairman. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like saying because you're president of US, because or you're president of China, then you're superior to president of a country like Benin Republic. No, it's the same thing. You're elected as governor on that scale. These are elected as chairman, so you have no right whatsoever. If you do not like their faces or their political parties, you wait until the next elections, then you can put your people. I know we had wondered this is the problem. When the Supreme Court ruled, you see that several governors, and it happened in Edo State. PDP swept the local government councils, and as it were, Governor Pueblo of the APC is inheriting what some people will call a political booby trap. And that's why he's, fighting tooth and nail to see these guys, to see their ouster.
Yeah,
the reason for their suspension is what I find really curious, that it stemmed from their disagreement with the governor to operate a joint account. I mean, what is that all about? I would say that the local government chairman were actually trying to uphold the principle of the independence of the third tier of government, as enshrined in the Constitution, and then you now go and suspend them for refusing to operate a joint account. Are they under any such obligation? Abuse of power is what we are witnessing in that case, and hopefully the court, in its wisdom, will reverse that suspension. And until we have a proper local government elections in Edo State, so that you can replace those local government chairmen, for all we care, but at least do the right thing at this point in time.
Well, the case will play out in court. Let's look at the Punch. APC tackles obedience as Obi alleges threat to life. While the All Progressives Congress APC alleged Peter Obi is playing bitter politics, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party says that the New Year message he delivered to Nigerians has resulted in threat to his life, his family, and those around him. This follows accusation that he has crossed the line by APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka. Felix said that Obi will face the consequences. Now Mr. Obi says he's been receiving all sorts of messages. I mean, what do you make of these jokes? Should the political class be intolerant of opposing views or try to suppress counter-narratives?
I think it's become a recurring decimal in Nigeria. If you recall, when El-Rufai was in the position, he actually stated that he was number 7 on the hit list. And to raise the ante, President Obasanjo wrote Jonathan. President Obasanjo had been Nigeria's president. He's been head of state, commander-in-chief. He wrote Jonathan as a sitting president that Jonathan was training snipers,
yes,
to actually eliminate political opponents. He even went further to say that Jonathan had put 1,000 politicians, on his watch list, security watch list, I know, coming from a person like Obasanjo, at the time, some of us wondered aloud if Jonathan had such a capacity, or Jonathan had such is psychologically inclined to doing such. So today we're seeing Peter Obi, and expectedly he's grabbing the headlines. So I wouldn't know if that's become a pattern, but I remember that in 1979 somebody called Waziri Ibrahim, who was the GMPP presidential candidate. His mantra was politics without bitterness. But we see at the time it was as if it was a joke. But we see that now there's so much acrimony, there's so much bitterness. It's possible that I'm not dismissing Peter Obi's allegations. It's possible. You have a lot of what you call overzealous supporters of the government. I mean, it's always same everywhere in the world. So, but we have to measure in what we say, both as persons in government and those in opposition.
When Nigerians ask for opposition, well, opposition they have to be allowed. Yeah, they have to be allowed to criticize the government. Well, let's move on to Daily Sun quickly. Daily Sun, Sora envelopes, Sokoto SSG loses daughter, 3 grandchildren. In a midnight fire, Sokoto State is in mourning due to this unfortunate incident which occurred while the occupants in the house were sleeping. Such a heartbreaking incident. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family. We also record there was a fire in a market in that same state, Kara Market. 50 shops were razed, 152 grinding machines destroyed. Food items, rice, millet, beans, estimated millions of naira burnt to the ground. I mean, the market fire is so common in Nigeria these days, Charles.
Yolanda and I were actually discussing this matter of, fire outbreaks yesterday. And,
yes. And earlier today.
Yes, this is the dry season. And, in the dry season, it's actually very easy to ignite fires. And because of the prevailing conditions, they also spread very rapidly. And this has been happening over and over and over again. And I wonder why, market operators and even private individuals do not take precautions, during this period, particularly when it's very difficult to contain fires when they break out, Yolanda.
Absolutely, Charles. I think that we need to put the right precautions in place because we know that there actually is a fire season for us. You know, this time where it's so easy, as Charles has said, for a fire to just break out. People don't know what to do in that moment. They don't know who to call. Can we even rely on the fire services? What do we do as people to, you know, save ourselves in such situations in your home when something happens? You know, yeah, sorry, I was slightly distracted by that. That's my
no problem. Well, very tragic. Let's look at the Vanguard this morning. Thousands face life-threatening ailments for lead poisoning. This story is emanating from Enyimba community in Abakaliki local government area of Ebonyi State, which has large deposits of lead. This should be a source of joy or wealth to the community, but it has become a problem. There are side effects of mineral deposits in people's life. The communities in this area have been afflicted with lead-related ailments resulting from eating crops, vegetables, fruits, tubers, grains, and drinking water contaminated by mineral deposits. Chugs, this is similar to the affliction suffered by people in the Niger Delta due to oil exploration. Environmental devastation emanating from, you know, not taking this issue seriously, exploiting the ground, blasting the ground because we want to explore minerals and make money. I mean, this is a problem, and the government should take this seriously.
You know, when we talk about putting the cart before the horse, you know, Ebonyi State is a state that is largely rural. And then the state government spends over 50 or so billions building an airport, which to all intents and purposes,
good point.
I've not seen more than 2 flights, you know, since its commissioning. You know, every state must not be like Lagos.
Right.
Every state must not be like River State. You know, Ebonyi State enjoys, you know, natural, it's a very fertile state, and you see it's one of the states that have got abundant mineral resources in the south. It's one of the few states.
Do you remember Abakaliki rice, those days when we were growing up?
Yes, of course, it's still there. It's still there. And the tragedy of lead is that people will not even see it. It doesn't, you know, they will not taste it.
Yes, it's a silent killer.
It's a silent killer because you see, they drink from streams, and how would they know that these streams or these rivers have been polluted and contaminated with lead? And lead is lead, phosphorus, it's a very, very deadly.
Yes. It's
a very deadly chemicals. So instead of, you know, investing so much in help of its citizens, you know, the government chose to build airports and look at what, you know.
Well, when it comes to mineral exploration, you know that has to do with federal government. So there is responsibility.
Sorry, it's not even a case of it's not even a case of anybody exploring the minerals. You know, it's in the soil.
Right.
So when groundwater runs over it, it takes this lead deposits and then, you know, ends up in people's homes. You know, people drink it.
Let's look at the international headlines. Citizen newspaper. SA ready for any outbreak. This story is in regard to the latest respiratory virus that mimics COVID, which has broken out in China. It's called the human metapneumovirus, HMPV. South Africa has told the public not to panic because it learned lessons from COVID-19 pandemic a few years ago, and this will guide the government in addressing other outbreaks. Well, Yolanda, across the world, different governments are closely monitoring developments in China, the rapid spread of HMPV. Somewhat reassuring to hear from your government that they know what they are doing, or they are, you know, they are aware.
Well, just as a point of correction, I'm from Zimbabwe.
Sorry,
not South Africa, but close enough. We're from the same region.
Southern Africa.
Southern African region. And I think it's really wonderful that the world is taking precautions, especially African countries. I was very happy to see a report in local news as well, Nigerian news, that airports are also, you know, on high alert with passengers coming from different countries, from Asia, you know, making sure that precautions are in place before anything is brought into the country. So this is very positive to see that we're learning from COVID. So many lives, so many businesses, so many economies were brought to their knees during COVID because the world just stood still, and so much was lost, including human capital. So I believe that this is a good thing for South Africa, although on the newspaper front page there is, I don't know if it's it's related. There is the president laughing with others. Is that a part of it, or is that something completely different from it?
Well, let's look at the Times newspaper.
She didn't answer that.
Europe turns on Musk over attempts to sway voters. Starmer and Macron unite against interference. Well, European leaders are not having it with Elon Musk. Latest venture into UK politics. French President Emmanuel Macron suggested Musk is, and I quote, attempting to intervene directly in elections. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer also taking a swipe at the billionaire, criticizing him for, quote, lies and misinformation over child sexual exploitation which had spread over social media. According to Starmer, a line had been crossed when Musk attacked Jess Phillips, the safeguarding minister, in online posts. Apparently, Musk's tirade against her is in relation to what he said was bad. He said that she deserves to be in prison and branded her as a rape genocide apologist. These are very strong words, and anybody can understand the outrage against Musk at this point. Chooks, what's the gamble about with Elon Musk?
Yeah, you know, I think the bigger lesson is that whoever controls the narrative controls the world. And it's not by coincidence that Elon Musk is the world's richest man. He's about 20 times richer than Africa's richest man. So that's to show you how rich he is.
There's no comparison at all.
Yeah. It's about 20 or more times richer than Dangote. So it shows you, and see where does this wealth come from? You know, from social media. Yes, basically. Of course, he's into other ventures.
He wasn't. Social media is more recent.
What I'm saying is more recent, but he's a man who saw the future, and that, you know,
he made money before.
Yes, I know, but you see, he is using. I mean, if he was selling his cars, and if he was selling Tesla cars, I pretty doubt if the European Union will be, you know, threatened the way they are now. But he wants to interview a far-right leader in Germany, and you know, Europe is on edge.
Right.
To be sure, the EU is one of the largest economic blocs, $17 trillion. So for one man to use his platform to want to, you know, control or shape the narrative in a country, you know, it's also a lesson for us here.
Right.
About the power, you know, the pen being mightier than the sword.
Okay, quickly, our final story this morning. Financial Times, Trudeau quits as poor ratings and strife in his party take toll. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced his resignation after having seen his popularity plummet. His party will be seeking a new leader this year ahead of the elections. He was mocked by President Trump, we remember, who described him as governor of America's 51st state. Yeah, I mean, Trudeau has been in power for 9 years. Yes. He came into power at the age of 43.
Yes.
Now he is 53. He's run his course. His successor is going to face a whole list of challenges, including inflation, housing costs, and strain from immigration. It's going to be a tough one. Well, let's see whether his party is able to pull off the next election. You know, well, thank you so much, Chooks, for joining us this morning. We'll have to leave it there.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for also
Not
being
comfort.
with us. And are we ever going to get over that?
No, we're not.
That's comforting.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, that's comforting.
Next time I call you comfort, please accept it.
I have to look for a name for you, Charles. Yes.
All right, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. It's goodbye from me. I'm Charles Eruka.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. The morning show is next. Goodbye.